Ciao! Ogni mese Zainetto Verde mette a disposizione una lezione gratuita di inglese, in collaborazione con l'International House of London. La lezione di questo mese si occupa di News and Current Affairs, con la professoressa Jess. Ti auguro buona visione!
Hello, my name is Jess. Welcome to your lesson. Today is going to be about news and current affairs. So, before we start, let's think, what do you understand by the terms news and current affairs? You can pause the video now, just for about a minute, and either write down, or if you're with a partner, you can discuss your ideas. What do you understand by news and current affairs? Okay, so hopefully you paused the video and you had some time to discuss your ideas. Let's look at a definition and see if it's similar to your ideas. So, news and current affairs are events in the news of national and international importance, events of political or social interest and importance happening in the world at the present time. Can include both reporting the events and analysis of the events. So that's a definition, but let's look at some examples of types of news. So think about what topics are covered by the news and current affairs. You have 1 minute to brainstorm as many topics as you can. You can pause the video and either write down some topics, or if you are with a partner, you can discuss together. Okay, you can pause now and think about topics. Okay, hopefully you've had some time to pause and think about topics in news. Let's look at some examples. So we can see we have 10 typical topics that we will often see in the news. We've got film and TV releases, fashion, politics, crime, sport, science, celebrity gossip, finance, business, natural disasters, and weather or the environment. So to help us understand the meaning of these different topics, the difference between these topics, you can see you have some pictures. So you can match each picture with a topic. And again, you can pause the video now for 1 or 2 minutes while you complete that task, okay? All right, hopefully you've had time to pause the video. Let's have a look, let's check your ideas. So our first image, this is of course number 3, politics. So the government, politicians, the world of politics. B, we can see an excellent football team here. So this is of course number 5, sport. So any kind of sports we see in the news. C, we can see is new film or TV releases. So movies, TV that's been released. We can see that in the news. D, so this image here is number 6, science. So that could be scientific discoveries or health related to science. Okay. E, this image here is number 9, natural disasters. So earthquakes, floods, typhoons, these kinds of things that happen around the world, okay? Linked to this in F, we can see is number 10. So it's weather or the environment. So lots of things in the news about climate change, global warming, these types of things. G, we can see is number 2, fashion, okay? H with the money, so that is of course finance or business, the economy, economics are often in the news. I, we can see the police tape here, so this is crime, okay? And finally, this famous couple in J, that is celebrity gossip. Okay, so talking about the private lives of famous people. We can often see that in the news. So pause again, and if you're with a partner, you can discuss together which types of news are you most and least interested in and why. Okay, you can talk about these topics. Which do you like or not like? Okay, you can pause the video now. Okay, hopefully you've had time to discuss those different types of news. And let's move on to think about sources of news. So how do you find out about the news? For example, radio, television, YouTube, newspapers and magazines, social media, TikTok, Instagram, for example, news websites or apps from news channels maybe, and talking to friends or family. And which of these sources do you trust and not trust, and why? Again, if you're with a partner, you can discuss these questions together. If you're alone, you can make some notes, pause the video, and then we will continue. Okay, hopefully you've had time to pause the video and think about what we trust and don't trust. Some little bits of vocabulary, some possible ideas that maybe came out of that discussion or in your notes. So we can see some more negative things: fake news, unreliable, biased, things about keeping up to date. So the latest stories, stay up to date, get the headlines. And then some more positive words: reliable, verified, impartial. If you would like to pause the video, either use a dictionary if you need to for these words, or practice that conversation from the last slide again and trying to use some of this vocabulary. Okay, so if you would like to do that, you can pause the video now. If not, we're going to move on to some listening, okay?
Stai trovando questo video utile e interessante? Lascia un mi piace qui sotto.
Okay, so we're going to listen to a dialogue, two people discussing the news. Two questions for you to think about. What type of news stories do the speakers mention? And is the news mainly positive or negative? All right, so let's have a listen to their conversation.
Hey, did you see that news report on the latest findings on the climate crisis? Yeah, it's pretty shocking, isn't it? It really doesn't look good for our future. Exactly. What does this mean for people of our generation? We're the ones who'll have to suffer the consequences if we don't act now. I agree. And the environment isn't the only thing our government is getting wrong. Have you heard about that politician who's been forced to resign? No, I don't really follow politics. What happened? Apparently, he was accepting bribes and misusing government funds. That doesn't surprise me, to be honest. All politicians are corrupt. You don't really believe that, do you? I don't know. I suppose some of them are okay, but I can't think of any examples right now. Anyway, did you see the news about that celebrity who was banned from a New York restaurant? Yes, I couldn't believe it when I heard it. He seems like such a nice guy. I know, but I suppose you never know what famous people are really like when the cameras are turned off. True. That reminds me of that footballer who quietly donated loads of his income to charity just because he wanted to help people rather than as part of a publicity stunt. Yes, I saw that too. So I guess there is some good in the world.
Okay, so again, you can pause for a minute to think about those two questions. If you need to, either discuss or write your ideas, and then we'll check our answers. All right, so the first question, the type of news stories that they are discussing, that they mention. So the environment, they talk about the climate crisis, and then some celebrity gossip, okay? They do mention a footballer, so if you put sport they are talking about a footballer, but a little bit more about as a celebrity rather than the sport, okay? And the second question, if the news is mainly positive or negative, mainly negative, okay? Some positive things at the end, but most of their discussion is about more negative things in the world. So that listening had a lot of useful language that we can use to talk about the news, any topic in the news. So how we can develop a conversation when we want to talk about the news. Okay, so here you can see the transcript from that recording, okay? So we can listen again, and this time see if you can complete the gaps in their conversation, okay? So we're going to listen again and fill in the blue gaps for that useful language. All right, off we go.
Hey, did you see that news report on the latest findings on the climate crisis? Yeah, it's pretty shocking, isn't it? It really doesn't look good for our future. Exactly. What does this mean for people of our generation? We're the ones who'll have to suffer the consequences if we don't act now. I agree. And the environment isn't the only thing our government is getting wrong. Have you heard about that politician who's been forced to resign? No, I don't really follow politics. What happened? Apparently, he was accepting bribes and misusing government funds. That doesn't surprise me, to be honest. All politicians are corrupt. You don't really believe that, do you? I don't know. I suppose some of them are okay, but I can't think of any examples right now. Anyway, did you see the news about that celebrity who was banned from a New York restaurant? Yes, I couldn't believe it when I heard it. He seems like such a nice guy. I know, but I suppose you never know what famous people are really like when the cameras are turned off. True. That reminds me of that footballer who quietly donated loads of his income to charity just because he wanted to help people rather than as part of a publicity stunt. Yes, I saw that too. So I guess there is some good in the world.
Okay, if you're still writing and you need a bit more time, then please do pause the video now before we look at the answers, okay? All right, let's have a look at those gaps.
Hey.
Okay, so you can have a quick look, compare what you wrote, see if you missed any words. Some of this is quite quick. We'll have a look at that pronunciation and see why some of the words are maybe a little bit more difficult to hear when people are having a natural, more fast-paced conversation. Okay, so if you need to have some time to compare your notes with the answers here on the screen, then please pause the video, take a minute to have a quick look, and then we will think about the meaning of these phrases in blue. All right, so let's have a look at these phrases. So these different sentences that we just listened there, they can be used for any topic, as I said, and they've got different functions. So we might want to start a conversation about the news. We may want to give our opinion or react to what someone says. If we don't know about the topic, we need to respond somehow. We might want to change the subject. Sometimes we don't want to talk about certain topics. And maybe we want to connect the topic to another news story, develop the conversation. So these phrases you can see below, you can put them into each category. So for example, the sentence, did you see that news report on, can be in starting a conversation. So you can pause the video now and complete that task, okay? Okay, hopefully you've paused the video and had a think about those phrases. So let's have a look at the answers. All right, so when we are starting a conversation about the news, we've got two phrases here. Did you see that news report on? And have you heard about? All right, so these two phrases, if we're thinking about that pronunciation there, so those parts in red, those words that are stressed, that we emphasize, okay? So did you see that news report on the celebrity, on the climate crisis, whatever topic you would like to put at the end there, okay? And that question there, did you, that quick speech, did you see that news report on something? Or same meaning, have you heard about? Okay, so again, that you becomes y because it's very quick. So have you heard about, and connecting those sounds? So again, have you heard about that celebrity? Have you heard about the football results, for example? If we want to give our opinion and react, you can see the different sentences here. So the first one is pretty shocking, isn't it? So that question at the end when we're in a conversation. And as you can see, that word shocking could be replaced with different adjectives. Okay, it's pretty surprising, it's pretty exciting, it's pretty amazing. You can choose, okay? If we are not surprised, maybe we hear about this all the time in the news. So that doesn't surprise me, to be honest. Okay, so to be honest, that linking at the end, okay? Or we're a little more shocked again. So I couldn't believe it when I heard it. So that stress, I couldn't believe it. Linking those sounds to sound more natural, okay, when I heard it, okay? If we maybe disagree or somebody says something that surprises us or we have a different opinion, we might say, you don't really believe that, do you? And again, that question at the end, do you? Continuing that conversation, inviting the other person to reply, okay? And if we have seen the news, yes, I saw that too. So keeping that connection with the other person. But if you don't know about the topic, you might choose to say, I don't really follow politics, sport, celebrity gossip. So maybe you're not interested, you don't watch that kind of news. So I don't really follow. Change the subject. Anyway, and then we add a new sentence. So anyway, did you see? Or anyway, I've got to go. Okay. And if we want to connect the topic to another news story or develop the conversation, which is a really nice thing to do when we're practicing speaking, we might think of something else. So that reminds me of something, someone. And again, that connection, that reminds me of something, okay? And then if we're questioning, what does this mean for the future, the environment, young people, etc. Okay, so those different phrases there, and you can change some of that language, those adjectives, and think about different topics, but really trying to develop a speaking conversation, all right, with another person about the news. So, practice. If you are with a partner, then you can do this in pairs. If you are alone, then you can still write a conversation, and you might practice it by yourself, or if you have somebody to practice with, that would be great. So you're going to write a dialogue talking about the news, similar to the listening that we heard before. You can talk about real events in the news if you want, or you could use the pictures on the screen here on the right for some inspiration. You can imagine the story or invent your own ideas, anything you want. And of course, your story can be serious or silly, totally unreal, imaginative. But we're trying to use those useful phrases from this lesson in the conversation to have that natural conversation about the news, okay? If you are with a partner, you can practice your dialogue together and then perform it if you are with a class. If you're alone, it's still really helpful to practice that dialogue, maybe even record yourself so you can hear that pronunciation, okay? So if you are with a partner or alone, then you can pause the video and think about that conversation, two people or more catching up, thinking about, talking about the news, okay? Thank you. So today you have learned some vocabulary for different types of news. We've discussed ways of accessing the news. We've practiced some listening to a conversation about the news, learned some phrases to help you take part in conversations about the news for different topics. And if you were with a group, then you've practiced some speaking about the news. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that and thank you very much.
Se questo video ti è stato utile, ti invito ad iscriverti al nostro canale YouTube e a lasciare un mi piace. Inoltre ti consiglio di visitare il sito di Zainetto Verde per scoprire l'esperienza che fa al caso tuo. Ci vediamo al prossimo video!